Hey guys, welcome back to the Snap-Ring Chronicles. Today we have another Ratchet video for you. But before we start, as always, can you please give me a like, share, and subscribe if you appreciate this type of content, if you find it interesting. Today we have a blast from the past. We have a Craftsman Circle U. There's the Circle U. Forged in the USA ratchet. This is a quarter inch drive ratchet. These were made from around the mid 40s to the late 40s for Craftsman. They were made by Plomb tools for Craftsman back then. So yeah, and this is the quarter inch, and the 3/8 and the half inch version, they had two screws, one on each end, one on either side. This one only has one screw in the middle. And I think this is probably one of the first forays into modern ratchets for Craftsman, because before then it was like a lot of kind of rough ratchets. If you look at some of the older Craftsman ratchets, they were still feeling their way, kind of. The switches were kind of not the greatest. The fit and finish wasn't all that great. So this is probably one of the first like modern type ratchets that came along for Craftsman, the Circle U. And after this, in the late 40s, there was the box head ratchet, which was more drop forge, made those for Craftsman. And then more drop forge pretty much from the late 40s all the way to the late 60s. Kept making ratchets for Craftsman, and then more drop forge was taken over by Eastco, and then Eastco from the late 60s to when was that? I think the early 90s. Eastco stopped making ratchets for Craftsman, and then Danaher Corporation took over until the present, I guess. Yeah, but they stopped making USA ratchets in around 2011. So all the Danaher Craftsmans after that were unfortunately made in Japan. I mean, Japan, I wish. Made in China. So that's a little bit of the history there. Let's take a look inside here. Like I said, it's just one screw. This is what the screw looks like. I don't want to take my hands off the ratchet because there's two panels. There's two the screw, it holds on to two sides, two plates. So if I were to let go of one side, just the plate will fall out. Okay. And as a matter of fact, well, I'll do that later. But okay, let me see the plate. Well, let me just show you what it looks like inside, because I know as soon as I take this plate out, these pawls are just gonna fall out. It's pretty much the same design that Plomb pioneered since the late 30s, early 40s. The two-pawl design you see in a lot of modern. You see pretty much the same design in a lot of modern ratchets nowadays. Just two pawls with a pendulum in the middle that swings the pawls from side to side, like that. With like cone springs on the side of the pawls. So it's pretty much been pretty much unchanged, this design. It's lasted so long. Okay, I'm gonna take the plate off on the bottom. Hopefully these pulls, yeah, they're gonna fall off. Okay, here's the housing without the plates. I don't know, I kind of think this looks a little bit rough inside. You see some of the forging here wasn't smoothed out. Looks a little rough. See how there's it's kind of a low lip here. And the forgings were not, everything wasn't smoothed out, it looks like, it seems. Let's see. You see up here, see all this like extra pieces that were left just hanging. And here's a big one. Okay, here are the plates. This is the top one with the switch. Actually, when I got this, it didn't have a switch, but luckily it still had the pendulum, and I just made a switch for this one. That's the pendulum side. And here's the bottom switch. I mean the bottom plate. This is where the screw head goes. This is the inside of the plate. Okay, they have these tiny, each pawl has these tiny springs, which I'm trying not to lose because I don't think I'd ever find these or be able to replace them with something else. And here are the pawls. The pawls are tiny. The pawls, I think, suffer from the same problem as the Ratchet head. They weren't well, like, smoothed out. There's a lot of forging residue here, like extra that wasn't taken off. There's a little bit here, but not as bad. And the bottoms are rounded. There's just one tooth per pawl. And this pawl, same thing, kind of rough on the sides. See all the roughness here? Like it was kind of hastily put together. Didn't bother to get all this stuff smoothed out. But one tooth like the other one. And here's the gear. That's what the teeth look like. There's the ball detent. Looks pretty good. It's like it's well centered. Not sure how many teeth, but I don't think there's many here. Maybe I think less than 30. I'll put it in the description. The number of teeth. Okay, to put this back together. Here are all your parts. The easiest way, I think, for me to put this back together is just take some Scotch tape. Take a little bit. A little Scotch tape. And take the plate with the switch and just tape it. Just tape it on for now. That way, when you get the stuff inside, the plate won't fall through with all the stuff. Okay, now you just take your pawls, you drop them in. Okay, there's a hole on each pawl. There's a hole there on each pawl. So make sure that that hole is pointed towards the wall of the ratchet, because the little spring sits in the small part of the cone of the spring, sits in that little hole. Okay. And you take your little spring, and this can be a little difficult because these springs are so small. You take your spring and you drop it in. Yeah, the hardest part of all this is going to be maneuvering those springs into place. Because they're so tiny. Okay. Alright, make sure they're in, those springs go in the holes like that. And then you take your gear. And you put it in like that. And you take your plate. And you drop your screw in. And you screw in the plates together. Like I said before, not too much torque on these screws. These are pretty old, these ratchets, and if you mess up this plate, you might be able to find the screw or a similar one, but if you mess up the plate, it's pretty much a done deal. Okay, now you just test it out, see if it's ratcheting. Yep, it's ratcheting. Okay, that's my teardown of the Craftsman 1/4" drive ratchet from the mid-40s, made by the Plomb tools. Okay guys, until next time, bye.